When given the problem for the underwater sculpture, we first started thinking about all the things that have to do with the sea. For instance, some of our original ideas were about sharks and mermaids and narwhals. We were really excited about the idea of making this like broken shark cage and putting different kinds of creatures or scuba divers around it. As we began researching, though we saw that a lot of the underwater sculptures really didn't have anything to do with the sea when they were put there, but then as they were in the ocean growth and biology kind of took over. We thought that was an interesting concept, and after watching a TED Talk on an artist who created an entire underwater museum of sculptures, we decided to explore some other ideas.
As we began researching, we ultimately decided on creating a shipwreck that would have an underwater city growing out of it. It was a combination of two ideas that our group had, and after a vote, we decided to combine two out of the many ideas that we had to create our one theme. Now, obviously, if we had made this to actually be underwater, we would have to use wood to create the actual ship, and the city would preferably be made of cement that would be able to survive underwater for years and years to come. Because those materials are not available to us, and this is really our first three-dimensional experience, we used things that we have access to and could use to create this as a model for something we would want to really create to go underwater in the future.
We started with the actual ship. Because we wanted it to be a shipwreck, we decided we would make it into two halves. This also made it easier for us to work collaboratively because certain people could work on one half, while others were working on the other. We started by sculpting the ship pieces out of chicken wire. We probably can all agree that this was our least favorite part of the project. We found out that the chicken wire was difficult to work with and really poked our fingers. Once we had the ship pieces sculpted or formed out of chicken wire, we used cardboard and masking tape to keep its form and give it some structure. Finally, our forms were ready to be paper mached. Many layers of paper mache later, we had our two halves to our ship. To finish the ship pieces, we then painted them with light brown base color and used reference color photos to paint on the shipboard and texture as a facade. After we completed the ship pieces, we had to create the city. We paper mache several cylinder forms with multiple layers so they were nice and strong. We then painted them all with a base coat of a light green. We were going to do it like a light gray cement color, but we thought with the reflection of the water on the cement, it would probably have a greenish or bluish tone, and knowing that we were going to be adding the growth and colors, we decided to stick with the green. After we had the base coat, we had to decide how the pieces would fit together to make the different city towers. We had decided during our planning stage that the towers of the city would all be confined into the ship pieces and that this would stick with the guidelines in our original problem for the Olympics of Visual Arts. We wanted the towers to vary in size and height. As those decisions were made, we hot glued the cylinders into place.
Once we had our city construction inside our ship, our group could really see our vision coming together. Next, we wanted to add some underwater growth, as a sculpture had been in the sea for quite some time. We started with plaster, using plaster cloth and dipping it into water. We were able to add on some growth or coral-like pieces. We also used a can of spray foam to add additional under the sea growth. Once everything was dried, we started mixing some paint colors. We wanted to use a variety of bright colors that you might be able to find underwater or see in a underwater sea type of movie. This is when our piece really came alive and started to look like something truly created from our imaginations. After we finished painting, which took a little while, we warmed up the hot glue and set work gluing on shells, oyster shells, moths, and other materials that we had. We wanted to look like these pieces strategically placed so it looked like it had grown on parts of the city and it had been in its time underwater.
Working in a team had its challenges, but it also had so many rewards. We really enjoyed collaborating and sharing ideas, and it made the work go so much quicker to have all this help and support from each other. We absolutely loved seeing our idea come to life over the course of the last few months. We love how our piece turned out and wish we had more time to add even more details and creations to it.
The sculpture group was my biggest group this year, and I was a little concerned at first because when they were in the brainstorming and research phase, they had so many ideas and they didn't seem to want to agree. However, they came up with a really nice system of kind of a class vote, and they were able to combine two of the most popular ideas together into something that I thought was really interesting. We talked a lot about materials with this group because obviously if this was actually being created underwater, we would have to be using like wood and cement and things like that. And realistically, with 10-year-olds and their first experience with 3D, that wasn't really possible in our school district. So this was kind of a model for what they would create if they were underwater sculpture artists. Again, I was really impressed by their process and how they came together and worked as a collaborative team, and I think they should be really proud of the work that they created and how they finished their entire piece.